Good evening. Welcome to you from your home. You know, last year we've had different kinds of cancer in this room, wall to wall. But because of the health of all of us and needing protected, are in the chambers and let us begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, liberty and justice for all. Thank you. First thing I'd like to do is I'd like to thank the city for helping us to put this forward. I'd like to bring up our city manager's name, David Carmani. I want Sean Granger to be thanked, and Mark Picchio for his group from the iTech department. They did a wonderful logo, and they have worked really hard with us because we had to change our route in the middle to get this forward, and we definitely were not going to let this opportunity go. This is the only chance that you get to meet our candidates and see them and hear what their vision is for our future. And so it's very important. And so we're so grateful. We're grateful that there were more than 70 questions submitted. I mean, that's fabulous. And so listeners, if your question doesn't get asked tonight, tune in a week from tonight for the District 3 Candidate Forum. Now, I want to introduce our moderator. She comes to us as a graduate of Cal Poly, and her major was poli-science. And you can see the three candidates behind me. They are anxious to tell you what their vision is for this city for the next 4 years. So I'm going to turn this meeting over to Mesa. Miss Mesa. Did I say your first name was Miranda? Did I say that? Oh, good, good. I want to do everything right. This is an important night. Thank you. Go at it.
Good evening, City of West Covina residents, candidates. My name is Yesenia Miranda Meza. I'm a community leader, advocate, and activist for the City of Pomona. And I am very pleased that the West Covina Improvement Association has allowed me to be here as your moderator tonight. We do also have a timekeeper that's going to be keeping time, so it's very important that we keep the 3-minute rule here, okay? So we're going to begin with opening statements. So please keep in mind, once again, the 3-minute rule that you guys have. And with all due respect, I will cut you off if I have to, okay? So we're going to start with transparency, okay? And we're going to start. Okay. Right, yes. So, Brian Gutierrez, if we're going to go ahead and start with you.
Okay, great. Hello, and before I begin, I would like to thank the West Covina Improvement Association and each and every one of your volunteers who made tonight possible. I would also like to welcome my West Covina neighbors, the people of West Covina who are watching from home. My name is Brian Gutierrez. I was born in East Los Angeles, California, Boyle Heights. As a child, I was physically and mentally abused, and eventually went into the foster care system, and eventually adopted by my late aunt. At age 10, we moved to the city of West Covina, and ever since, I've been a resident serving the people with developmental disabilities. In the state of California, I'm proud to be a national volunteer ambassador to Autism Speaks, a California State Commissioner, and also the Executive Vice President of External Affairs for a major record label with Sony Latin Music, Dow Records. As a child growing up in the foster care system, I was taught never to use my past as an excuse to fail in life. I was taught the moral values of public service and always helping others I believe in. I was taught to always use compassion and dedication in all I do, as it will make me a better person as I grew. I'm proud to say that despite those challenges, I am the successful person I am today because of that belief. If I am elected to the West Covina City Council, I stay committed on fighting for what's right. If I am elected, I will resolve the homeless issue in our city once and for all. If I am the only candidate that has a background in mental health and business, I'll be able to work with our police officers to create a team of 4 bike police officers and put them on bike patrol. These officers will be trained in how to handle mental health situations and will be able to be hands-on the homeless issue. In order to solve this issue, we must be hands-on and have the patience we need to one by one solve this issue and make sure that those who need help and want help are placed into shelters, and those who want to stay and commit crimes will make sure our police officers have the resources they need to enforce the law once and for all. If I am elected, I'll clean our parks. I'll make sure our parks are once again a place of fundamentally where our families can unite and enjoy. I'll make sure we build safe neighborhoods. I'll make sure we put more officers back in our local streets once and for all. I lived in West Covina since I was 10 years old. I know the importance of seeing officers in our local streets. I remember the day when I used to be able to see patrol cars in our local residential streets. And I'll support our local businesses in ensuring that we create more jobs for West Covina. I'll make sure that there's no new taxes. Raising taxes is not the solution to solving our city's issues. And I will ensure accountability at City Hall once and for all. I will build school partnerships and make sure that we create more programs for our school programs. The fact is that our children today are the leaders of tomorrow, and it will be a true honor to have your support on November 3rd. Thank you so much, and God bless.
Thank you, Mr. Gutierrez, for that. We're going to go ahead and move on to Mr. Lloyd Johnson.
Good evening, residents of West Covina. My name is Lloyd Johnson. I am your West Covina City Councilman for almost 5 years now. I have lived in West Covina for over 50 years. 95% of that time has been in District 1. I've been married to the same great woman for 46 years. It will be 47 years in December. I have 2 children, a son that's 45 and a daughter that's 40. I have 8 grandchildren. Both of my children went through the West Covina Unified School District and graduated from West Covina High School. And 2 of my grandchildren they're enrolled at Monte Vista. You know, my daughter and 3 of my grandchildren live with my wife and me because she's divorced. You know, our home is their home. I am more than just a councilman. I have been involved with the city for over 30 years. For those residents who have lived here a long time, I led the protest against the pillowcase rapist, Mal Drew, to keep him from being paroled in West Covina. I had probably about 15 stationed with the microphones and everything on the back of a pickup truck. Helped get rid of the parole office afterwards. They wanted a 25-year extension. And they also wanted to bring in another 1,500 parolees. So we got rid of that. I am a wounded Vietnam veteran. I fought in Vietnam in 1968 in the United States Marine Corps. You know, I may not have a college degree, but I do have a DD-214. I carried the torch in the Los Angeles Olympic relay in Los Angeles in 2004. Participated in the city of West Covina, the hometown program for the 2015 Olympic World Games. I'm a hometown hero, a cancer survivor, active member in the West Covina VFW, West Covina Elks Club, the Hirsch Ranch Barn Boys, the Historical Society, the Women's Club of West Covina, and I'm very proud of that one. I'm a lifetime member of the NAACP and a lifetime member of the Disabled American Veterans. I had a part in bringing portals into West Covina before I was even on the city council. Just because you're not on the city council doesn't mean you can't be involved. I was also a blue-collar worker, an iron worker, I worked as an LA City Fire structural welder for many years in construction before I had cancer and had to retire. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Johnson. Now to you, Mr. Brian Tabatabai.
I want to thank the West Covina Improvement Association for organizing the forum and everyone who's watching on YouTube in this great valley of ours. I am a San Gabriel Valley kid. I was raised by this valley. My son is going to be raised by this valley. Little League baseball, football on the streets, Friday at the theaters, Saturdays at the mall, every day, all day in my vans. That's who I am. This is my home. West Covina is my home. It's a life made possible by my dad, who escaped a revolution to create the American dream. My mom, whose story is the story of this place. Great-grandfather who built the railroad. Grandma who fought counselors to get her kids access to college. It's their spirit that drove me to excel on the diamond, on the gridiron, in the classroom, in the community. It drove me to get accepted to the #1 public university in the nation, UCLA. At UCLA, I worked at Reber Hall washing dishes. I met my wife at Sproul Hall, and I double majored in political science and history. For 20 years, I have mentored thousands of students and athletes. I've led championship teams, and I've dedicated my life to public service. My young family made the decision to set our roots here in West Covina. Same decision my mom had made 20 years earlier. We chose West Covina because of its schools, its beautiful neighborhoods, and the vibrant community. But as I became active in local politics, I questioned whether our council was acting in our best interest. I saw a council making decisions behind closed doors, a council not explaining their decisions to residents, a council ignoring resident comments, a council ignoring legitimate concerns from the public. We have a city council that routinely shows a willingness to sacrifice our city's budget and our valuable land. It is clear this council does not represent us. I will fight for West Covina. I will decide by the will of the residents and not by special interests. I will be intentional in addressing our homeless problem, facilitating weekly game planning with all stakeholder groups who are currently tackling the issue in a vacuum. I will guarantee the return of transparency and discussion here in the council chamber. I will ensure a budget process that's inclusive of residents and provides for the fiscal health of our families. I will work to bring a senior center to District 1 and work with the school board to make sure we have access to the sports complex. This is West Covina. This is my home. It's a city we have chosen to live and serve. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tabatabai. So now we're going to get into our questions that were submitted by the public and by the residents of West Covina. So our first question is going to be on transparency. So we're going to start with you, Mr. Gutierrez. Will you be an advocate for transparency and commit to addressing all of the issues that are raised during open comments at City Council?
That's a great question. I would like to thank the individual who submitted that question. It's important that we always ensure accountability at City Hall. And it'll be my commitment to ensure that we always have an open book here at City Hall and our doors will always be open. Being elected to office requires the person to be committed to the public. The public, the voters of our community, are the voters who elect those to office. And we always have to be accessible to those voters. I'll make sure one of the things I'll do if I'm elected to the City Council is require the uploading of all those files, so our residents will always have accessibility to those files online. I'll ensure that our website is more accessible to all West Covina, so it's more easier for people to have accessibility to those files. I stay committed on ensuring that city staff have the resources they need to respond to the concerns of our local residents. For far too long, our city has been in a budget crisis, and I'm ready to fix that. With the community, we'll get things done together, and once and for all, we'll put our city back on the right track. It'll be my commitment to ensure that there's always accessibility to public records. Public records is the public's right to know, and I stay committed on ensuring them. I believe the people are my voice, and I will always be accessible to the voters of West Covina. And I will always be an advocate to the voters of West Covina to ensure that their voices are heard loud and clear. And it will be my honor to have your support this coming November 3rd, because I believe if we work together, the better and more prosperous we can make our city. I believe that when we work together, the impossible is always possible, because when we work as a team, we can achieve anything. And it is my commitment to balance the budget, making sure that we are transparent in doing so. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Gutierrez. Would you like me to repeat the question, Mr. Johnson?
No, I think I understand. When I ran for council in 2015, one of my platforms was transparency. And I feel that, I've been very transparent with the city of West Covina. There are some things that we have to understand. There are some things that are said in closed session and things that have to stay there. We can't bring that out into the public unless it was a vote that we have to do. If we voted on it in there, it has to come out, and they have to be transparent out here. But I said nothing should ever be hidden. That's why when we were talking about not letting the emails come through over when they were sending them in for the council meetings, and I made it very clear that I wanted every one of those emails read. I was the only one that said it, but I did say it. And I know that it got swished under the doormat, but I stepped back there and I told the mayor that I wanted the emails to be read, because that's transparency. Even though you have some emails, you may have 10 dozen of them are the same, but that's okay. If they're exactly the same, I think all the names should have been read, and then read the email with all those names and each one of these names. And if they're different, they should be read different. That's transparency. Transparency also is that we don't hide things from the residents. I tell the residents the way it is. And I tell them, you can agree with me or disagree with me. That's fine. But being transparent is about. And if you think I'm not being transparent, I want you to tell me, and I will tell you exactly why I've given you the answer that I have. I will never hide anything from the residents. I've never hid anything. So that's what's been my goal from then. It's been a pleasure of mine, is to be transparent, and I always will be transparent.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Mr. Tabatabai, would you like me to repeat the question? So, will you be an advocate for transparency and commit to addressing all of the issues that are raised during open comments at City Council?
As someone who's stood at that dais speaking to the council, I understand the need for transparency. This is the place of the people. This is the residents' chamber, and everything needs to be discussed. I have been an open critic of the council. I've been an open critic of our budget process. The people should have access to our budget. Chattanooga, Tennessee has an open budget process where residents can go online and see spending in real time, can see how money is spent on police, but not just police, how it's spent on different units, how much money goes to health insurance, right? The residents need to see that. We have some brilliant residents, doctorates in business, who, if they had access to those numbers, could come in front of the council and present to us. I've seen some wonderful presentations by residents of this community who are experts in their fields, and I invite them to come and present to us. When we talk about transparency, transparency also means creating a safe space for residents to speak. We need to really enhance what we see as the standard of behavior from our council members. There is a power difference. When you are sitting up here, you get not only the last word, but you get as many minutes to speak as possible. And you need to respect the fact that you have that power difference. And so what I would like to see is that the council agree to a standard of behavior that we do not address residents by name after they've spoken in a negative fashion, which I've seen in the last couple months, where residents become targeted by council members. If we're going to have transparency, we need to create a safe space for residents to come speak, feel comfortable to speak, be invited to speak, outreach to the residents. Again, transparency is something we need if we want to serve the community. And I am here to serve. You can go on my website. You can see everything I stand for. My public comments are on that website. I put the videos out. I guarantee you, if you vote for Brian Tabatabai, you will know where I stand on the issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tabatabai. So moving forward, we're going to focus on LA County services. And the question, Mr. Gutierrez, is Mr. Johnson, I apologize. What is your position on retaining West Covina Fire Department or moving to LA County Fire, and why?
I can say this very quickly within a few seconds. I will never, ever vote to go county fire. I don't believe in it. I think we lose a lot of service. You know, when you have that hometown grab, this is our fire department. You know, they come to your house. Most of them, they know who you are. When you have a county fire, they could come from anywhere else. No, I'm going to make it very short. I'm not going to use your 3 minutes. I'm not even going to use a minute. No, I will never vote to go to county. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Would you like me to repeat the question, Mr. Tabatabai?
Accountability is important. When services are taken away from the city, it also means those services are no longer accountable to residents. If we have an issue with our fire department, we can come to the dais and we can speak to the council, we can speak to our fire chief, we can make our concerns known. If our fire department goes to county, then we have to deal with the county. We have to deal with a county of over 2 million people, right? So here we are, right? A city of over 100,000 where we have a voice, where our police and fire are held accountable to the residents. But as we move these services away from the city, we relinquish our power. And so, no, I will not support our fire department moving to county. Thank you.
Mr. Gutierrez?
Great. Can you repeat the question to for the neighbors or residents who are online? Go ahead and repeat the question.
Sure, that's fine. What is your position on retaining West Covina Fire Department or moving to LA County Fire, and why?
Yes, that's a great question. And the reality is, before I begin on that question, I would like to thank the men and women of our fire department who are currently assisting other fire departments in the Bobcat fire in our local mountains. Thank you for being our local heroes and serving our community with passion and dedication. You're our local heroes, and we commend you always, the people of West Covina. And it will be my commitment to ensure that we always keep our fire department. It will be my commitment to balance the budget and do it effectively and efficiently. We must work with all stakeholders in our community. We must work with businesses. We must work with our local residents. By working together, we can resolve these issues, and together we'll get things done. Reality is we need to balance our budgets. We need to make sure. And reality is that if we ever went to county services, it will hurt our residents. I will always want to make sure that if our residents dial 911, that they can get a response from our ambulances in less than 5 minutes. It's my commitment always to protect the lives of those residents who live in our community. And it'll be my commitment to resolve our budget issues so we can keep our fire department for years to come. It'll be my commitment to balance the budget and ensure that we ensure accountability so we could balance the budget and make sure that we have enough money to keep our fire department and police officers and police department. It takes accountability, it takes leadership, And I'm ready to lead the charge in that fight to ensure accountability in our city, that we keep vital services in our community. Because at the end of the day, the voters of our voice, and will be my voice, and I will fight always for what's right. Thank you.
Thank you for that. So we're moving forward. The topic is BKK and Mr. Brian Tabatabai. The question is, what do you think should be done at the BKK landfills? Left alone, or mild development, or something else?
Thank you for that question. I have been a critic of the current plan with Sing Poli at the BKK. I have been against the hotel on the dump from the beginning. You know, not every piece of land needs development. Land is the most valuable piece of parcel that a city has. And to go ahead and use the land for a development that residents may not even see the benefits of for 25 to 30 years, to me, is a waste of resource. The BKK, in my opinion, should be a place for families to enjoy. It should be nature preserve. We should look at solar farms, but it should not be a place that we develop. According to the most recent police report that was presented at the last council meeting, Azusa and Amar is the most dangerous intersection in the city, right? Anyone who lives there, my mother lived there for over 20 years, understands the traffic, understands the quality of life that would be impacted by doing a major development on the BKK. Now, I understand why councils like hotels, right? They see it as a big tax. They see it as more revenue. But what have we been doing with the revenue we already have? How can we trust that we are going to sacrifice quality of life for more revenue? No. You know, what I will do as a council member is I will actually push for the investment in the heart of the city, where we have a branded place, the Plaza West Covina, a place that is really the cultural center of our city, to create an open air space, open air mall, to create an economy that is pandemic resistant. You know, we have an opportunity to be a model city with a model economy that enjoys the 340 days of sunshine, Southern California sunshine, right? That's what we can do. Sing Poli wants to invest in West Covina. Let them invest in the Plaza West Covina and give something that the residents will enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tabatabai. Mr. Gutierrez, would you like me to repeat the question?
Yes, for the listeners who are online.
What do you think should be done at the BKK landfills? Left alone, or mild development, or something else?
Yes, and that's a great question as well. And I would like to thank Singapoli, excuse me if I'm not saying their name right, but thank you for looking at West Covina to develop. But I believe that we need to go back to the drawing board and we need to really look at how it will impact our local community. Now, most importantly, we need to make sure that it's a safe site to build on. So if I am elected to the city council, I will make sure we do due diligence to test the site to make sure it's safe. If it is in fact safe, we need to go back to the drawing board because I believe it's missing a important aspect to that development. I understand there is going to be a canine park. There's going to be a hotel. But what part of that development will benefit the actual average citizen of our community? And it'll be my commitment to redraw those plans to include a regional park. And I think that we can work with our county leaders, we can work with our congressional member, we can work with our senator and assemblywoman to really come together with our community and listen to the voices of our community. I think it'll be beautiful to have a regional park on there. And if if that site is deemed safe after due diligence is done, then we, in fact, should find ways to create revenue for our community so we can balance the budget. But I will never vote on something or advocate for something that harms the voters who elect me to office. I will always be a fighter for change and an advocate for the people of West Covina. And it'll be my commitment to go back to the drawing board with that developer, make sure that we come together and they pay for tests to be done to make sure the site is safe to build on. And if it's deemed safe, then we'll go back to the drawing board, because I think it's missing the most important aspect of that development. How does it benefit the local average resident? And putting a canine park, it's beautiful, and I will always support our police officers or in our regional, many officers and departments who want to use that site. But I believe it's missing a very important aspect, and that aspect is, what specifically does it do to benefit our community? And I would like to see a regional park on there, a beautified park that also increases beautification throughout our city to improve our parks and make sure that we create more revenue so we could ensure stability and accountability at City Hall once and for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gutierrez. Mr. Johnson?
Yes. As one of 5 council members right now, I am one that has opposed from the very beginning the Simpoli project up there at the BKK. I used to live, when I first moved to California, I used to live in Woodside Village. That's over 50 years ago. You know, Amor stopped right there at Temple. I used to see the big old trucks go up there, big old taxi trucks. You know, there were trucks going up there with trailers, coming back and leaving the trailers there. That's how toxic they were. You know, it's terrible. Nothing should be built up there. I mean, when they built that dump site, they didn't even put a liner in it. So that is one of the biggest toxic dump sites in the United States, because that can leach out. It can go from side to side. We don't know where it's gone yet. The tests haven't been done yet. So like I said before, I'm 100% against any hotel being put up there. Like I say, you know, I think a solar up there could be up there, because the reason why with the solar, they do not dig into the ground. They put the solars on pads, and the pads set on top of the ground. They don't invade into the ground. Once you start invading into there, you don't know how far you're going to go down with all that toxic material. Now it starts leaching out, and now it starts affecting the residents in that area. That's why none of the residents in that area want Simpoli to build anything up there. Even though I don't live near there, I live over here, I'm still with the residents over there. When I got elected, I said I will always represent all the residents of West Covina, and they still will. So like I said, you know what? No, I would never support any type of building like a hotel or stuff like that. A solar farm up there, I think would be fantastic for West Covina. We could actually make some money off of it. We could pay our bills, electric bills. I know we're planning on doing other stuff, but yes, I think a solar farm would be the best thing up there. Along with, maybe you could have a park over there, but they have to stay off the toxic dump, the Class 3. So I'm just saying, no, I would never support a hotel up there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. So moving forward to alcohol sales at service stations. So, Mr. Gutierrez, the question is, the City Council is currently considering removing its ban on alcohol sales at gas stations. Are you for or against removing the ban?
I am 100% against removing that ban. And unfortunately, a member who's running for re-election in this election has flip-flopped on his decision to authorize the sale of alcohol in our local gas stations, unfortunately. But I'll stay committed on listening to the residents of West Covina. And the fact is that the majority of residents do not want additional areas of selling additional alcohol. There's been no budget presentation showing that how much revenue would that create for our local city. There has been no presentation showing where that money will go for the generation. When that money is generated, do we just throw it in the general fund? Or is that money going to go to our local parks? So there's questions that have been left unanswered, and it's a shame because the people's voices of our community shall always come first, and we should let no special interests dictate this council. And I stay committed on being an advocate for our community. I stay committed on fighting for what's right, because at the end of the day, the voters of West Covina will always be my voice, and I will make sure that their voices are heard once and for all. Thank you.
Mr. Johnson?
Okay. Well, we know who he's talking about. He's talking about me, which is fine. You know what? I've also changed my vote on other things. On Engine 4 for the fire department. First time I voted for them to keep it running. Then I said no. It was going to cost too much money, over $1.5 million. So I voted no to close it. I think as a council members, we have to look at the issues on and say, you know, what is it? And I thought at that time, especially with the fire engine, I wanted to close it. But then I took back and I looked at it before. And I said, no, we really can't afford it. So let's go to the alcohol in the gas station. Yes, I changed my mind. You can call it flip-flop or whatever. I say a council has a right to look at it, and if they get other issues, they are allowed to revisit it. And that's what I did. And I want to make a statement which has been made to me a few times. It's been made at this council. First, I want to say, if anyone thinks I can be bought for a few $100s, they don't know me at all. You know, money had nothing to do with it. Donations had nothing to do with this. You know what? This isn't, like I said, it isn't the first time I've changed my mind on things. What it is that as I've been campaigning on it, I ask the questions, I ask the residents, what are your main issues that you have in West Covina? And we can all sit here, we can say yes, this, yes, no, you haven't talked to a lot of people. I've already walked through the whole district once. I'm on my way again. I've had 6 people, as of today, through emails and at the door, talk to me about the alcohol in the gas station in District 1. Now, let's remember one thing. Us three candidates up here are asking for the residents in District 1 to elect us to the City Council. And those are the ones that we have to listen to. I know in the past, I remember Forrest Wilkinson, he had 700 signatures, yeah, but that was citywide. It was also, and I understood that. But you know what? I think we have to look at it a different way. And what I want to say, the last thing I want to say about this, the bottom line is, this is a pro-West Covina business proposition. Our gas station operators need to compete on a level playing field. This is a legal, well-run business selling a legal product. That's the bottom line. You know, now we're only talking about, I don't know where we got off at 23, 25, or 28 gas. It's only 4 gas stations. And there's only one gas station right now that wants to apply for it. So it ain't like we're going to have every gas station selling alcohol. So that's my opinion. Yes, I am for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Mr. Tabatabai, would you like me to repeat the question?
As a resident of District 1 and as a candidate for District 1, I am opposed to changing the ordinance to allow gas stations to sell alcohol. And the reality is, in District 1, we have the highest concentration of liquor stores. We also have the highest concentration of gas stations. We also have the most traffic accidents. We have the highest crime. We also have the highest concentration of homeless. And so to bring more alcohol into our community, and I understand Councilman Johnson said that it was only going to be 4. Originally, it was only going to be 4. But from what I understand, it was opened up. And the idea that only 4 gas stations will apply, well, I understand when something's illegal, you don't waste your resources and apply. But when something is made legal, well, now it's fair game. And so, again, when we look at this issue, we need to look at a few things. First off, is it going to generate revenue for the city? Well, if it is going to generate revenue, then we're saying there's going to be increased alcohol sales. And that means what comes with increased alcohol sales. Again, that means more crime. That means more traffic accidents. That means underage drinking. The Chevron on Sunset and Merced is walking distance from Edgewood High School. Gas stations sell single bottle malt liquor, which is, the cheapest brand of alcohol and is the one that young people with no money, the homeless, that is the type of alcohol that they purchase. And it also is the type of alcohol that leads to behavior that puts residents in danger. The other thing we need to consider is once you increase the amount of alcohol and the amount of purveyors that sell alcohol in the city, well, this means the police need to go ahead and roam those areas. There's going to be more calls to gas stations, taking them out of our residential neighborhoods. And again, that's a cost to the city. We're hearing people talk about, well, we want to hire more police. Well, when you hire more police, you increase our pension obligation, right? We have over $200 million in unfunded pension obligation to our public safety unions. And so then to go ahead and be in favor of changing an ordinance that is over 43 years old, that gas stations have competed in the city of West Covina for 43 years without being able to sell alcohol is short-sighted and in the end will cost the residents.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tabatabai. So we're moving forward to finances. And the question is, Mr. Johnson, what is your view of a sales tax in meeting West Covina's budget crisis?
The question is no. The residents have spoke. This last one that the fire department tried to put on, I think it was like 80-20. They said no. I will respect the residents on that. We can sit here and talk about it all night long. I can talk for 3 minutes on it. At the end of the day, when I'm done, the answer is still going to be no. I'm never going to vote for a sales tax in the city of West Covina. That is my commitment. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Tabatabai.
Again, when I look at our financial situation, it's not a revenue issue. It is also an expenditure issue. And, to hear Councilman Johnson say he would never be in favor of a tax increase, well, he wholeheartedly endorsed the tax WC. And to say he will never do it, well, he's also said that he's open to changing his mind. And so I think statements like that really don't serve the public. The reality is, when we're talking about our current budget situation, 80 cents to every dollar we take in goes to police and fire. So if we really want to have a conversation about dealing with our budget, we have to have that conversation. Now, we've started to have it in terms of fire to county, and hopefully we will be presented with data. The last time we were presented with data, fire to county was going to cost the city of West Covina. And so gladly, we did not make that move. And I guarantee when that presentation comes around again, we will probably find the same result, and fire will stay in the city of West Covina. So we need to have these conversations, So we need to start dealing seriously with our police and fire union. Again, I was very critical on the 12% raise that was given when we were in a budget deficit, and I was obviously one of the 80% that voted against tax WC. So unless we're going to have that conversation, which should happen in the council chamber, which should be brought out to the public. When we did the survey, the budget survey, right? The residents, and it was only 200 because the city, with its lack of transparency, didn't get it out to everybody. But the majority of people said we need to look at that police budget. And so we do need to have that serious conversation. And I know that question's going to come up, and that question's going to be asked of me, and I'll save my answer for when that question is asked. But if we really want to deal with the finances of the city of West Covina, then we need to speak honestly about how we are dealing with our public safety unions, and we can no longer commit to salary increases and commit to more budget expenditures because we understand that getting that political support of police and fire will get us elected to council.
Thank you. So, Mr. Gutierrez, what is your view on a sales tax in meeting West Covina's budget crisis?
Yes. Well, I am against any new taxes to the residents of West Covina, and I was against the yes on West Covina because it's unaccountable for one of my colleagues here who's running for re-election was a proud supporter and voted to put that on the ballot. So he's kind of contradicting. But regardless, the voters will be my voice. I will make sure there's no new taxes because the first thing we got to do is balance the budget. We need to ensure accountability in the budget and stop the deficit. And by ensuring accountability, we can make our city prosper again. Raising taxes is not the solution to solving our city's deficit. It's about working with the people and putting all stakeholders on the table to negotiate comprehensive reform to make our district prosper and our city prosper. It'll be my commitment because I have a background in business. I'll be able to work with our police and fire department to negotiate common sense bargain negotiations. Reality is that our police officers took a drastic cut over the years. But reality is putting a proposition on the ballot is not the solution because the voters want accountability first. And I stay committed that if you elect me to office, I will ensure accountability in City Hall and we'll balance the budget and we'll put more programs back in our local community. I will ensure we get the money we need in local grants from our state and federal government. I'll be committed on being an oversight and ensuring we garner the funding we need to balance the budget once and for all. And most importantly, the voters will always have my accessibility, and that's why my cell phone number is listed on all my material. Because I want the voters to always contact me, not just during election time, but if I'm elected, I want you to call me anytime, any day, if you have a concern. Because it's my job to serve you. It's my job to lead District 1 if I'm elected to office. I stay committed on making an impactful difference in our community, and together we will get things done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gutierrez. So we're going to be moving forward to our last question, but due to time, we're going to go ahead and limit that answer to 2 minutes per candidate, okay? So our last question, Mr. Tabatabai, is on homeless population and crime. And the question is, business owners in our city have had break-ins that resulted in loss and damages. Transients are sleeping, doing drugs, etc. What is your plan to help the businesses to solve this issue?
Thank you. I do have a plan for our homeless population. Number one, we need to identify who is our homeless population. We go on one a year count, and that data is available to the public, but that doesn't give us real actionable data. What we need to do is we need to have daily counts. As a teacher, I understand that I need to differentiate for my students. I need to find out who my subgroups are. And so in order to do so, we first must identify who's homeless on our streets, what are their needs. And then what we need to do is we need this council, this chamber should be where conversations get facilitated. We need to bring in all the stakeholders, the nonprofits, the churches, our community groups who've been working really hard on the homeless issue. And we need to have the game planning, weekly game planning on what is needed. Right now, a lot of our nonprofits are duplicating the work. leaving some work undone while other work gets overdone. So as we bring them in, we can game plan weekly, and we can do the work of getting people housed using data, right? Data-driven solutions, right? So once we get our subgroups, some people need bridge housing. That's easy. We get them in their bridge housing. Some people are going to need mental health support. Then we provide them with the mental health support, and so on. But unless we have real data, and we provide that data to the people who've been working on this problem, then we are not going to solve the homeless issue. We're not going to solve any of the crime that comes with the homeless issue, and we are not going to get those Measure H funds. And so in order to deal with the homeless issue, we must be intentional. We must get that data. We must bring the stakeholders into the chamber. And
Thank
then
you,
we'll get
Mr.
things done.
Tabai.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gutierrez?
Okay, great. Well, that's a great question, and I stay committed on solving that and resolving that issue. Reality is mental health is a crisis in our community. I'm the only candidate that has a background in serving in the mental health capacity and being a business executive. This past weekend, well, first of all, before I begin on that, I would like to commend the groups that are on Facebook and in social media, the individuals who are residents who report homeless issues in our community. I think those websites are vital in creating awareness. I think it's important, and I commend people like Karen and Sue and our other residents throughout our community who are on that page, who work tirelessly to create awareness for our homeless issue. Thank you for all you do for our community and the services you do for our community. But most importantly, it'll be my commitment to resolve that issue once and for all. I'll make sure we put officers on bike patrol. I'll make sure those officers are fully trained and get the training they need to handle mental health issues. Those officers will be trained how to weed out those who need help and want help, and we'll get them into shelters. Those who have committed crimes and continue to commit crimes and take drugs in our local parks or whatever they're doing to break the law, we'll make sure we enforce the law as the law says our officers have the right to do so. Because in the end of the day, we must work with our community, our residents, to resolve that issue. And it will be my commitment to resolve that issue once and for all. This past weekend, I spoke 3.5 hours to a homeless individual, and she finally agreed to take services. It takes passion, it takes compassion, and dedication to resolve this issue. And I stay committed on always being accessible and working hard and tirelessly to resolve that issue. And I hope I can receive your vote and the honor of your support this coming November.
Thank you, Mr. Gutierrez. Thank you. Mr. Johnson?
Yes. Let's all remember one thing about our homeless. And I'm going to say this right out front, and then I'm going to move on. Homeless isn't a crime. Homeless is a tragedy. And the problem is, it's a government tragedy. As cities, we spend a lot of money to do it. They have the Major H money. West Covina has spent over $10 million in our tax money donated to Major H, and we've only got a few $100,000 back. Now that's a tragedy. We use our sales tax to go into it, and we only get pennies on the dollar back. So moving on. The laws have changed, folks. Before, years ago, our law enforcement could go out there at nighttime and make the homeless move out of our parks. The government has taken that out of their hands. Unless you have a place for them to go, they don't have to leave the parks. And even if you have a place for them to go, they still don't have to go. So we do everything that we can do. We do have the Hope Team. Yes, we did have one or two other officers. I know one was in an accident real bad some time back, and I don't think he's been back yet. But the Hope Team goes out there, and yes, it isn't just with one of the candidates over there saying he knows about mental health. They have caseworkers that go out with them that deal with mental health, with substance abuse. So, they're not going out there in la-la land thinking, I don't know how to deal with homeless. They go out there as a group. So I'm just saying, we have a lot of work to do. And no, not one of these candidates sitting up here can say, if you elect me, I will eliminate homeless. That is a bunch of garbage. Thank you.
Thank you so much, candidates. So now we're going to be moving forward to closing statements. And again, we have a 2-minute time, simply because of our time crunch. 2 minutes, yes, we're on a time crunch right now. Yes, so go ahead, Mr. Gutierrez. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And to respond to my opponent's question was, I commend the people who are working tirelessly to do their job with our mental health issue. And the problem is that we need leadership. We need a leader to guide them. And without that guidance and without that leadership, we will never be able to resolve that issue, and crime rates will continue to increase. I stay committed on the residents. And most importantly, I would like to thank each of you who are watching at home. I stay committed on bettering our district once and for all. It will be my honor and it'll be a blessing to have your support this coming November 3rd. I believe that the impossible is always possible. And no matter where one person comes from in life, we all have the power to make change. As if we believe in ourselves, all things can be achieved. And it will be my honor and my privilege to serve you on the West Covina City Council. The people will be my voice, and I will always be available to the people. Please visit my website at Gutierrez, 4, westcovina.com. And always feel free to call me on my cell phone number, 626-324-2136. I stay committed on fighting for what's right, and I will be your advocate on this city council once and for all. The people are the leaders of our community, and it's time that we give our residents a voice on this in District 1 once and for all. And together, we'll get things done. Thank you.
Mr. Johnson?
Thank you. First of all, I really want to thank Carolyn Arndt and the West Covina Improvement Association for holding this forum tonight. You know, these are rough times still ahead of us. You need experienced leadership to navigate through these rough waters. I've been on the council for almost 5 years. With this pandemic and all the lost taxes revenues in our city, we need strong leadership right now. I have provided that leadership. Now's not the time to take a chance with someone who is untested. The next few years are critical to the future of our city. Please partner with me to navigate through these unique times. Folks, it's one thing to talk the talk, but you need to walk the walk. And I have walked the walk, and I am still walking. Tonight you have heard from all 3 candidates for the city for the District 1. Only one of us has the experience to lead our city through these tough times still ahead of us. And only one of us has lived in District 1 for over 50 years. My friends, please remember, the ballots arrive in your mailboxes on October the 3rd and thereafter. You can do your mail-in then, or you can wait and do the walk-up, which starts on October the 24th. So tonight, I humbly ask for your vote this week, and I want to thank you so very much, and I am Councilman Johnson.
Great job, Mr. Johnson. So, Mr. Ryan Tabatamay?
It's been an amazing experience talking to all the residents of District 1, to have so many people open their doors for usually a masked face. Some have even invited me into their house. And I want to thank you for hearing me out. We live in the Marshall House. It was built in 1948, a home that's a special place to a lot of residents in District 1. A lot of residents learned to swim there, had their summer barbecues there. It was the place to be in West Covina. History is important to me. It provides the context for understanding a place. It gives insight into the dreams of our city and inspires the vision for the future. We are living during a time of uncertainty, a time of transition, but we've been here before. History has taught us that these are the times of growth. These are the times where leaders with vision, work ethic, and the willingness to engage in those hard discussions in order to make those difficult decisions are needed. This is what I've always brought to my classroom, to the sidelines, and I will bring it to the council. My vision for West Covina is the vision that brought us here in the first place. a community that celebrates opening days at Del Norte Park, a community that pulls together to make sure residents are not sleeping in our streets, a community brought together by reinvesting in the cultural heart of the city, Plaza West Covina. My vision is a council that asks hard questions of each other, of our city manager, of those officials we have placed in positions of power. A council committed to meticulous oversight and reviewing the budget, that opens its budget process to residents, makes data easily available, and holds itself accountable. So please vote Brian Tabatabai for City Council. October 5th, you get your vote early, so mail it in. You don't have to think about it. Thank you.
Thank you so much to all the candidates. You guys did a great job. And on behalf of the West Covina Improvement Association, thank you so much. We really appreciate the time that you took to provide this to the residents of West Covina. Mr. Johnson?
I, for one, would like to thank you so very much. You did a fantastic job. So thank you so very much. And I'm looking forward to listening to the next debate. And you're already going to moderate that one too, aren't you?
Yes, sir. I'll be there too.
I'm looking forward to it. You did a fantastic. And once again, to the West Covina Improvement Association, thank you so very much.
And I concur. You did a remarkable job, and thank you for volunteering your time, and it's remarkable. So
thank you, Mr. Gutierrez.
And I guess I get to say a thank you also for saying Tabatabai correctly also, and she worked so hard on it. Yeah, every time you said it right. I want to thank you and thank everyone and thank the residents watching on YouTube. I'll be on Instagram Live now if you want to ask me questions. Brian for Wesco.
Thank you so much.